I do have one announcement. We did have an IT administrative executive session before the regular session. Steph?
Just to be mindful of our court reporter's time, we're going to jump to legal matters quickly and consider adopting Ordinance 2019-01 and Ordinance 2019-02. Mr. Peters.
Thank you. If we could go on the record, please. This is the scheduled date and time for the hearing on an ordinance of the Borough of Conshohocken, Montgomery County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the Code of Ordinance of the Borough of Conshohocken, Chapter 27 Zoning, Part 3 Administration, by amending Section 27-310 Federal, State, or municipally owned property to clarify that municipally owned property is subject to the requirements of Part 17 FP-Floodplain Conservation District. This ordinance was advertised in the Times-Herald on December 19th, 2018, and December 26th, 2018. It is now prepared for council's consideration. As I discussed with council previously, this ordinance is required by the corrective action plan we entered into with FEMA recently. This section of the ordinance, 27-310, exempts borough-owned property from the requirements of the zoning ordinance to prevent a situation where the borough is in essence seeking relief from its own ordinances. However, because the floodplain regulations are incorporated into our zoning ordinance, a strict reading of that section would lead to the conclusion that we're also not subject to the floodplain regulations. The floodplain regulations are imposed in part by FEMA, they're federal regulations, and so we can't exempt ourselves from those regulations. So the only change in this ordinance is to clarify, and I'll quote the language, that the provisions of this chapter shall not apply with the exception of Part 17 FP/Floodplain Conservation District, which shall apply to municipally owned property with full force and effect. That is the extent of the amendment of the zoning ordinance that's before you. At this time, I'll open it up to council questions, and then we'll see if the public has any questions. Seeing nothing from council, anything from the public? And seeing nothing from the public at this time, council, having held the hearing pursuant to the requirements of the municipality's planning code, council can, if it so chooses, vote on this ordinance, and it would be by motion to adopt the ordinance as drafted.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And with that, Ms. Checo, the solid waste ordinance actually does not need a court reporter. So with that, we will thank our court reporter and excuse her. Thank you very much.
Mr. Sokolowski, if you could come to the microphone. Right, if you could just give a brief description regarding the reasoning behind the solid waste ordinance revision.
There were several reasons, but one for I think the most important part was that it met one of our obligations to divot to reduce our workman's comp, and obviously I forget what the savings were, but somewhere between $140,000 and $170,000 a year. So that took care of that. The other part of it was that we were dedicating 10 man-hours a week in order to pick up 62 properties, 62 businesses that really we should have never been in that business in the first place. That is the exact quote that came from our consultant on those matters. He said that we should never have been in the commercial pickup game. That's why businesses do business. They can go out and they can negotiate a price for whatever they want picked up. We, on the other hand, are only picking up to get reimbursed for the dumping fees. We do not get reimbursed for any of the cost of our labor, any of the vehicle issues that we may have for dealing with these heavy amounts of trash that have to be taken over to the dump, and we're not being compensated for any of the workman's comp issues that we incur because of the pickup.
And how many notices were sent out to the businesses regarding the change to this?
Every single business was notified twice. The last one went out at the beginning of December to remind everybody that as of January 1st, we were going to eliminate the commercial part of trash pickup.
Did we have any problems so far this week?
As far as I know, today, they didn't say anything to me. There was one business in Ms. Flanagan's ward that they didn't have a pickup company yet, but they were going to get one shortly. We actually, I think the guys took it upon themselves to notify these people, notify these businesses themselves, and some of the businesses actually put stuff out Monday that normally would get picked up Wednesday, so they picked it up Monday. So they had, just to get it off the streets for the week, give them some extra time.
And if there are any businesses that are struggling to find an outfitter, are we able to assist them in some way?
I'm unaware of any businesses that would struggle to that. I think struggle to do that. I think in the letter we gave them 6 to 10 options of different companies. A lot of these companies, they're not recommendations from us. They were just names and phone numbers of companies. And again, they came from our consultant. And all those companies that were on that list, the consultant said he has dealt with in the past and he has no issues. So I don't know why there would be any issue with trying to get. But honestly, I think the last I've talked about it with the Borough crew guys, I think that somewhere between 80 and 90% of the people already had trash pickup by an outside company as of December.
Great. Are there any other questions for Mr. Sokolowski? No. Thank you.
Okay.
If council is inclined at this time, you would consider adopting ordinance 2019-02, amending the solid waste ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Flanagan?
Thank you very much for having us. My name is Chief Chris Flanagan from Narberth Ambulance, and to my left are Assistant Chiefs Robert Weber and William Weber. Council President, Honorable Councilman, Manager Checo, Chief Metz, it's our honor to be here. Happy New Year on behalf of the Board of Directors and the crew that faithfully serves this community and the surrounding communities as well. We wanted to go over a real quick snapshot of what we're about and some of the current EMS issues in Montgomery County, so I'll get right into it with permission. Just real quickly, we have been around for a long time. We were founded in 1939 and incorporated in 1944. What I think is important about that is we were put together to help members who were being transported from the wars coming into the Port of Philadelphia get to local hospitals. Not really an emergency service, but a community-based service with a foundation in supporting those who faithfully served our countries. We then did grow into an emergency service just because, kind of like emergency, the squad, and how developments came that we needed professionals in the street to help save lives. I think very, very importantly that the Borough Council here realized that they needed EMS in 1999, and there were some things going on with the services and just things that wanted to put together a great EMS system because Conshohocken has a very important community, and they also knew that that community was on a grow, and the council supported bringing that ambulance in. During that time frame, we met with them because they wanted to become a better team, and we teamed up with them. We didn't take them over. We supported them, we integrated their membership, and some of those members are still life members of our organization as we speak today. So that is really what happened and how we grew into this community, and I acknowledge the previous council for thinking ahead and being prepared. Our reach, we are the exclusive 911 provider. We have 4 stations. Most importantly, Conshohocken is our A station. Our primary station is right here in this town, this community, ready and able 24/7 to save lives. But we also have other stations that support other municipalities, and I can answer questions more about that if that comes up. We do have 9 ambulances and 2 supervisory vehicles. The importance in that is we have the ability to back up. If one of these trucks, blows a tire or something happens to it, we have backup equipment. In a matter of 15 to 30 minutes, we're back up and running, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. You do have a copy of the PowerPoint because I know I'm going so quickly. Last year, I sent an email to the manager letting them know that Montgomery County was taking a look at a different way to manage the EMS system. We are very excited that they're moving forward and helping other organizations who don't have internal management systems as we do grow in today's day and age where you need rapid response. But basically what they want to do is they want to use MDT or GPS mapping inside the ambulance vehicles to maneuver trucks around the county. So conceptually, that is good in some aspects, and then there's also hurdles that have to be overcome and have yet to been studied by the county. Before we get into that, I would like to let you know that our organization, in all of our coverage area, and this is on record with Montgomery County and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which also we are licensed under, we have a 96.51% ratio of cover. That means 96% of the time we are covering our calls in a time period of 5 minutes or less to your front door. And that's a massive undertaking. It's very important, and we always want to do better. But I do want you to know the level of service that you have that's on record with the county and that. The county is going to take the 22 ambulance services that manage this entire county and 11 that surround the county, such as like a Bucks County or a Delaware County, and try and redo the system. They implemented the system at the end of December after a year of going back and forth and tweaking stuff. We opted not to participate in the system, and it really comes down to one reason. If you look at the map, you can see our coverage area in Conshohocken, Plymouth, and White Marsh. The white labels are related to the ambulance stations that are around. Plymouth Ambulance is one of the single busiest ambulance companies in Montgomery County. They do a very good job, but they have a massive draw, and they have the Borough of Norristown, which, as you know, is just simply heavily populated. The closest dispatch center system is going to pull ambulances to different locations, and our primary concern is to cover our coverage area. We are extremely concerned, and when I broke this down to the manager, Ray, the fire chief, and the police chief, we wanted to go over why we want to protect this community first. If our truck starts getting pulled into those geographic areas, we will not be available for EMS calls here, and we cannot guarantee who would be available to cover us. I do want to be very clear. If there's a major disaster, all hands on deck, whatever it takes to help our neighbors, we will, and they will help us as well. But what we did not want to have happen is our truck being pulled to the Borough of Norristown or White Marsh every time we go available from a hospital. As you know, we serve Mercy Suburban, Einstein, so those travel times could pull us all the way into far parts of Montgomery County. We do not think that is in the best interest of this community, our providers, and our backup systems.
Chief Flanagan,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
you give them an example? So say, for example, you're dispatched from here and you end up in Einstein. What could happen from Einstein moving forward so that they understand exactly what?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what the manager is referring to is if we left Einstein, we took a patient there, and we try and take you where you want to go. So unless you're a certain critical injury where we may have to go to a special service hospital. But if we went available on a busy Friday night, there's a high probability that we would get pulled because our MDT is turned on into the Borough of Norristown for a priority call. And that would continue happening. But each time we go to a hospital that's outside the borders of Conshohocken, our truck could keep getting pulled away, away, and away. And we don't want that to happen. We want to manage that. We have spent a lot of money on an internal radio system and a float system. We also have over 13 officers. These 2 officers are specially trained just to handle and focus on the issues in Conshohocken Borough and West Conshohocken. So we're very dedicated to staying focused in particular zones. They make reports back to me and we make global decisions. But what would happen is if that truck keeps moving, then it's not going to be available, and we can't guarantee who's going to be available, and that's where the hole is with that system. And I acknowledge anybody who tries to make something better, but there needs to be a back-end plan to make sure that the town that it's supposed to be in is being covered properly. We have an internal radio system that we manage. The minute this truck goes in service, we move a float truck into position so that if there is another call in Conchi or West Conchi, that we're available to handle that. In the overnights, we do not float a truck over here. We use the 1 truck. During storms and other things, we put an additional ambulance up at our cost, even if there's not 1 call or 20 calls, so that the truck does not get pulled from the community. And that's just worrying about our coverage area. You can imagine if I go back to that map and show you that huge circle where people don't have the staffing that we do, they don't have the equipment. Real quickly, and I'd love to show you if we can arrange it with the manager to show you the equipment we have, but we have on our trucks a video laryngoscope blade. We bought that. That is a life-saving piece of equipment that is not required by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, not required by Montgomery County EMS, but it is on our trucks because we save more lives with it. We're able to intubate and breathe for somebody. Sometimes people are difficult intubation, and we have that on there. I want that equipment. Bob, Bill, want that equipment here in town so that it's available. And it's something that nobody else in Montgomery County carries at this time. So those are the reasons why we don't want to keep getting pulled out. The other thing is the county put this requirement on. It would cost us over $6,600 a year to participate in a system that is going to put a fuel drain on us, beat up our trucks, and take us out of town. We believe at this point in time it needed to be better studied, evaluated on the secondary calls and the management, and that is why we have opted not to participate at this time. We are available. We are in constant 24/7 communication contact with the county, and we are available to handle anything that they could come up with or transition. And we do assist on major fires and other things. So that's just a quick overcap on that. I'm going to have these gentlemen talk about our community support.
Can I just ask a question before we go into the community support piece? What was the county's response to your declining to be participants in that program?
After we shared our position, and I would say that it was partially heated because there was different parts that they weren't acknowledging in the responsibility of what would happen. So let's just say one of my things is if 5 ambulances out of those 22 close, now you have the MDT, but there's 5 ambulances now missing between the UX truck and the other. Is it really close for EMS? These are the things that we wanted studied. We wanted to do a trial and get some things together. They did a snapshot just outside of Ambler, and I hope I have the town right, but it's right in Ambler, ambulances coverage area. It may involve a couple different municipalities, Upper Dublin, thank you. So they only did a snapshot of one area where we have rural in the top end of Montgomery County, and I would call Norristown, semi-urban, and then us in between, office mix and everything else like that. So there's a lot of different factors that go into these things. If we go to a high rise here, it takes us 5 minutes in an elevator to get in. They don't calculate all those things. There's real life issues that we do and come up with. They don't have super highways figured in. We send 2 ambulances because the fire guys will tell you, and Bill and Bob will tell you, every time somebody says they're in the eastbound lane or in the westbound lane, if we have to go all the way down to the next exit and come back. So these factors have not been put into this system. And we wanted that to be evaluated, put into the system to help protect the communities, all of the communities, not just this one. And that's one of the things that we, and they respect our position, but we feel that at this point in time it would be not proper for us to do it until we know what's happening in the positives and the negatives.
And that can change in the future.
That can change in the future. We're asking them, if you've seen your PowerPoint, we're asking them to give us a 6-month report.
And did they commit to that, to actually doing that?
There's not a written contract. In the spirit of goodwill, I believe that they are going to evaluate it. We also stated that, and I don't want to harp on this, but with our coverage ratio and us managing ourselves with a secondary radio system, that we're proving that we're getting the job done and exceeding normal standards.
Okay.
And what other municipalities declined?
Plymouth Ambulance, White Marsh Ambulance, and there may be one other, and I don't want to speak for them, but I can say officially that those communities shared the same factors.
Okay, thank you.
Just some of the other stuff that, from a community standpoint, that we're involved in. We work very close with the police and the fire. We have worked with the Fellowship House. We do blood pressure screenings up there once a year during EMS week. We come to monthly meetings before the borough, and we enjoy that. We work very well with the borough of Conshohocken. It's a great thing. One of the things when you're talking about like priority calls are class 1 cardiac arrest, things like that. We have a great system in Conshohocken where we do a thing called pit crew CPR. And anytime that there's a cardiac arrest, the fire department is automatically dispatched out with us. Within the last probably 3 months, we've had 3 or 4 of them, unfortunately, already. And we just have a great response from the entire community, both police and fire that come out there. And you just should know that. It's good that we have these volunteer services. All right? Anything else for us?
Is there anything that you need from council tonight regarding, or you just want them to understand exactly what it is that you've done with the county and looking forward to the county? And then I'm also just going to give a big thank you for everything that you guys do for the community. You're all over the place. You're always available, and you just keep us safe. So thank you.
Hey, just in closing, before I forget it, Ray and Tim are a big part of our team, and Bill had brought up that we are addressing cardiac arrest need more people. So instead of having to pull 2 or 3 ambulances, Conshohocken as a team, the easiest out of all the municipalities we serve, so I do say that and I mean it, that we're like, okay, we have to get lives saved, so we're going to do it. And not only, most importantly, does that person get high-quality care and a whole team approach with the police, fire, and EMS, but it also means our truck's available sooner. All the reasons we want to be ready for the next call. So I do want to say that, Manager, to answer your question, I think that we felt that we wanted to meet some of the new board, let the council know what we're doing, who we are, set up some things in the future, but in complete transparency, let them understand what was going on in Montgomery County EMS.
Are there any questions for council to the?
Any questions, anyone?
Nope, just a big
Because
thank
we're
you.
always available.
you very much.
If anybody ever wants to go down into our station and look at our station, we can certainly arrange that.
I think we've been trying to do that for a bit, right? Back and forth.
And
we'll get it.
follow up a little bit more on that.
Great.
But,
We can get that done.
It's great to
Yeah.
see what we do and what we have in these ambulances.
Yep, we would all appreciate that and enjoy it, yes.
Thank you so
We'll work with
much.
somebody and we'll do that.
Okay, anytime, just email me.
Thank you for having
All
us.
right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that.
Get you this.
The next item on the agenda is consider reappointing members to various boards and committees.
The individuals were interviewed for reappointment in December, and tonight you are considering reappointment for the following individuals: Nick Cerulli for the Dog Park Committee, Jessica Roth for the Dog Park Committee, Rick Barton for the Zoning Hearing Board, Gregory Scharf for the Zoning Hearing Board, Carol Smith for the Sewer Authority, Brian Tobin for the Planning Commission, Matt Bridenstine for the EAC, Dominic Rocco for the EAC. You are also considering appointment to the current vacancy on the Planning Commission of Jacqueline Rocco. If you are so inclined, we will do one motion for reappointment and appointment of members to various boards and commissions.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Do I have to recuse myself? Yes. Yes, okay, I did, I told
And
you.
we have one recusal.
Note for the minutes that Councilmember Barton has recused herself.
The next item is,
A and B are done, so you're moving, yes, C.
consider reappointing Rudolph Clark as zoning hearing board solicitor at the submitted rate schedule. I will need a motion from council.
I'll second it,
I'll make the motion.
and I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is consider appointing Remington and Vernick engineers as alternate borough engineers for general engineering services at the submitted rate schedule.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item under manager matters is to consider authorizing the tuition reimbursement for Detective William Walter. Again, this is part of the collective bargaining agreement. If you're so inclined, I would need a motion.
I'll make
Make
that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is to consider the 212 Wood Street Phase 1 financial security release in the amount of $26,899.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is to adopt the 2019 fee schedule.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The last item is a discussion item. I want to draw your attention to part of the fee schedule is the subdivision and land development fees and also the zoning fees. Ms. Stetler has reviewed the current zoning fees and has made some suggestions with regards to how they should change slightly. We will be reviewing them with her and our legal team at our legal and engineering meeting in January for final review. So it will be back as a potential item for you to approve or consider approving at the second meeting in January, your voting meeting. And Ms. Stetler will be on site to explain her recommendations. Regarding the subdivision and land development, we've taken the course of the fiscal year 2018 to really draw down on subdivision and land development processes. And with that, we've done an evaluation of the fees. While the fees are very reasonable, the way they are structured, we're trying to make them more user-friendly. So what will be presented to you is not so much a revision of the fees themselves, rather the way they are presented to the public, our developers, et cetera. So they'll be more it's a user end, make them easier to understand. So you're adopting a fee schedule because it is the beginning of 2019, which includes the current structure as it is. We'll be working with our legal team and our engineering team and our zoning team to make any final tweaks. It'll be back in front of you for final review and potential consideration. Okay? That is all I have.
Okay. So, department matters, we have nothing, correct? So under legal matters, we do need to, both? We did that, okay. Any public comment?
John?
Good evening.
Good evening, John.
Just one thing I was thinking, when you changed the solid waste ordinance, it also included removing the grass clippings. I think you should re-advertise that again in the Borough newsletter, because it was in the first time, it was just a sentence at the bottom of the page.
Right.
I'm quite sure a lot of people missed that. And right now, people are thinking about snow, not grass.
Thank you for the
point.
suggestion.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know.
It's a very good suggestion, thank you. We can
Okay.
put that in.
All right, thanks, that's it.
Thank you, John.
Probably get in spring too.
In bold letters.
Yes.
Mayor Aronson?
So 2 Fridays ago, we had our first wedding under our new process at the Marywood Park House. It went really, really well. I think the couple and their family really enjoyed the space as opposed to being one of our offices upstairs. 30 people ended up attending, which was a shock to me, but they were very welcome and they took some really nice pictures. So far, so good.
That's wonderful.
Just a Happy New Year to everybody, and hopefully it's a good one.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Jane?
Happy New Year, and let's hope for no snow.
Yeah, right.
Oh, now that you said that.
Yeah, we'll probably have a blizzard.
You said that.
Yeah. Ike?
Happy New Year. If it snows, it snows. Nothing you can do about it. You can't send it back up.
I hope it snows. I love Sutcliffe Park. I don't have anything. Happy New Year.
Chief Nance?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and meeting adjourned.